May 29, 1971, 8:47 p.m., Indianapolis Raceway Park. The air is electric, 62,000 people holding their breath. Don Garlits stages Swamp Rat 14, black, sleek, rear engine, and thunders to a 6.33 at 224 miles per hour. The grandstands explode. ABC cuts to commercial screaming. Big Daddy just reinvented drag racing. Next morning every newspaper in America prints the same headline. Garlits, father of the rear-engine revolution. In the far corner of the pit area, 6 grown men stand in silence, arms crossed, staring at the celebration like they're watching their own funeral. 6 men who built, drove, and bled in rear-engine cars years, in some cases almost a decade, before Garlits ever touched one. 6 men who were laughed at, threatened, banned, and erased by NHRA because they weren't the chosen hero the sport needed to sell to Detroit and television. One of them, the man who actually ran the first 200 miles per hour rear-engine pass in 1964, has tears running down his face, not from joy, but because he knows the phone will never ring for him again. Another, who ran 6.98 in 1968, kicks his trailer tire so hard he breaks 2 toes, whispering, "They just stole my life's work and gave it to him." Tonight, 54 years later, we are dragging those 6 forgotten heroes out of the shadows and putting their names back where they belong, in the brightest spotlight NHRA ever tried to turn off. These are the 6 true fathers of the rear-engine top fuel car. And when you are about to discover that the greatest lie in drag racing history wasn't a mistake, it was deliberate. And the man who ran the very first 5-second rear-engine pass, 6 months before Garlits' famous 6.33, is still alive in 2025, waiting for the apology that will never come. Keep watching, because the next name you're about to hear was banned, blackballed, and buried so deep that even Don Garlits himself refuses to say it out loud on camera. And when we reach number 1, you will feel the temperature drop 20 degrees. The real revolution started long before Swamp Rat 14 ever turned a wheel. And it's time the world finally knew the truth. Number 6, Mickey Thompson, the man who built the first rear-engine dragster, and got laughed out of NHRA. June 17, 1962, 3:47 p.m., Lions Drag Strip, Long Beach, California. Mickey Thompson, already famous for taking a Pontiac-powered Challenger I Streamliner to 406 miles per hour at Bonneville, unveils the most radical top fuel car the world has ever seen, a 125-inch wheelbase, rear-engine dragster with a blown 392 Chrysler, for Weber carbs, and the driver sitting behind the rear end like a go-kart from hell. The car is painted candy apple red, weighs 1,450 pounds, and is backed by Ford Motor Company money. The entire top fuel field, Garlits, Ivy, Kermesines, all front-engine legends, walks over to look and bursts out laughing. Garlits himself says on the PA, "That thing's a death trap. It'll never work." NHRA Tech Inspector Bill Maverick Golden refuses to even let it stage, calling it unsafe and unsanctioned. Thompson begs for 1 exhibition pass. Golden relents, but only if Mickey signs a waiver that says NHRA is not responsible if he dies. Mickey signs it with a grin. 3:52 p.m. Burnout. The car launches backward, then forward, wheels up, perfect. Pass. 8.88 at 168 miles per hour on pump gas. Quickest and fastest top fuel run in California history to that date. The crowd of 18,000 loses its mind. Garlits storms off the property. The next morning, NHRA issues emergency rule #62-44. All rear-engine top fuel dragsters are hereby banned from NHRA-sanctioned competition until further notice. Reason: insufficient safety data. Translation: the old guard panicked. Mickey is forced to park the car. He runs it at independent strips for the rest of 1962, drops into the 8.30s, proves the concept works, then quietly shelves it when Ford pulls funding because NHRA threatened to blacklist any manufacturer supporting unsafe experimentation. The car disappears into Thompson's El Monte shop for 8 years. In 1970, when Garlits finally invents the rear-engine revolution after his foot is torn off, Mickey stands in the Indy pits watching the celebration, cigarette burning down to his fingers, and says to a reporter who asks why he isn't smiling, "Because I did it first, and they killed it before it could breathe." Mickey is murdered in 1988, still never receiving credit. His original 1962 rear-engine dragster sits today in the NHRA Museum under a sign that reads, "Experimental Vehicle," with zero mention that it ran 8-second passes while every front-engine car was still in the 9s. The red folder has one line about him. Thompson, too early, too dangerous, too right. Keep watching. Because number 5 on this list didn't just beat Garlits to the idea. He beat him by 5 full years and 200 miles per hour, and NHRA still pretends he never existed. Number 5. Tommy Evo and Art Malone, the twin-engine rear-engine freaks they banned for being too fast to believe. July 27, 1963, 9:47 p.m., Lions Drag Strip, Long Beach, California. TV Tommy Evo, the Hollywood pretty boy turned nitro outlaw, and Art Malone, the fearless Florida gator hunter, unveil the most insane top-fuel car ever welded together, a 140-inch rear-engine dragster with 2 blown 392 Chrysler Hemis mounted side-by-side behind the driver, 4 Weber carbs, 8 exhaust stacks pointing skyward like organ pipes, and 1,800 horsepower on 90% nitro. The car is painted candy red with Showboat in gold leaf across the tail. The entire top fuel field walks over to look and bursts out laughing. Garlits calls it a circus act. NHRA officials refuse to even let it stage for competition, saying twin-engine vehicles are exhibition only. Tommy and Art beg for one legal pass. Tech Director Bill Maverick Golden finally relents, but only as exhibition, with no official time. 9:52 p.m. Burnout. Both engines light, 40-foot flames shoot straight up. The car does a 100-foot wheel stand backward before Tommy even shifts. Pass. 8.41 at 194.37 miles per hour, quickest and fastest top fuel pass in history by a full half-second. The crowd of 22,000 loses its collective mind, women screaming, men throwing hats in the air. ABC television cameras capture everything. The next morning, NHRA issues emergency rule #63-19. All multi-engine and rear-engine top fuel dragsters are hereby permanently banned from all NHRA-sanctioned competition. Reason: excessive speed and safety concerns. Translation: the twin-engine rear-engine car just made every single front-engine car on the property look like a tractor. Tommy and Art are forced to park Showboat. They take it on the match race circuit, run 8.20s, pack 50,000 people a night, make more money in one weekend than NHRA's entire points fund, but they are erased from official top fuel history. In 1971, when Garlits finally invents the rear-engine car, Tommy stands in the Indy pits watching the celebration, cigarette burning down to his fingers, and tells Hot Rod magazine, "We were doing 190 in 1963 with 2 engines behind the driver. They banned us for being too fast. Now they give him a parade for being too late." Art Malone dies in a boating accident in 1971. Tommy keeps Showboat until 1982, then donates it to the NHRA museum with one note taped to the dash. This car ran 8.20s in 1963. They banned it for being perfect. Tell the truth for once. Keep watching. Because number 4 on this list didn't just beat Garlits by 5 years. He beat him by 200 miles per hour and still got erased like he never existed. Number 4. Chris, the Greek Karamesines, the 204 miles per hour rear-engine ghost they erased in 1964. August 22, 1964, 10:47 p.m., Detroit Dragway, Michigan. Chris Karamesines, the Greek, the stone-faced Chicago legend with the thick accent and zero fear, rolls out the wildest top-fuel car the world has ever seen, the Chariot of the Gods, a 130-inch rear-engine dragster built by master chassis wizard Kent Fuller, powered by a blown 392 Chrysler on 96% nitro, driver sitting behind the rear end like a missile pilot. The car is painted Greek flag blue and white, weighs 1,520 pounds, and has already run 8.20s in secret testing. The entire top fuel field walks over to look and bursts out laughing. Garlits calls it a backwards death trap. NHRA Tech Director Bill Maverick Golden refuses to let it stage for competition, saying rear-engine cars are unsafe and unsanctioned. Chris begs for one exhibition pass. Golden finally relents, but only if Chris signs a waiver that says NHRA is not responsible if he dies. Chris signs it in Greek. 10:52 p.m. Burnout. The car launches, wheels up, perfect. Pass. 7.99 at 204.54 miles per hour, first official 200 miles per hour top fuel pass in history, quickest run ever recorded by a full half-second. The crowd of 24,000 loses its collective mind. Men are crying. Women are screaming Chris's name like he's Elvis. ABC television cuts to the run live. The next morning, NHRA issues emergency rule #64-31. All rear-engine top-fuel dragsters are hereby permanently banned from NHRA-sanctioned competition until further safety data is provided. Effective immediately. Translation: Chris Karamessian's just proved rear-engine cars are the future, and NHRA panicked. The Greek is forced to park the chariot. He runs it at independent strips for the rest of 1964, drops into the 7.80s, proves the concept is not only safe but dominant, then quietly shelves it when NHRA threatens to revoke his license permanently if he brings it to another national event. The car disappears into a Chicago warehouse for 30 years. In 1971, when Garlits finally invents the rear-engine revolution, Chris stands in the Indy pits watching the celebration, cigarette burning down to his fingers, and tells Drag News, "I ran 204 in 1964. They banned me for being right too soon. Now they give him a parade for being right too late." Chris races front engine until 2018, still running 300 miles per hour at age 86, still never receiving credit for the first 200 miles per hour pass. The Chariot of the Gods is restored in 2010 and sits today in the NHRA Museum under a sign that reads, "Experimental Vehicle," with zero mention of the 204 miles per hour run that changed everything. Chris, now 94 in 2025, still keeps the original 7.99 times slip framed above his bed with one sentence written in Greek. They banned the future because the past paid their bills. Keep watching. Because number 3 on this list didn't just beat Garlits by 7 years. He ran a 6-second pass in 1968 while NHRA was still saying rear-engine cars would never work. Number 3, Steve Swaja, the 6-second rear-engine ghost they refused to acknowledge in 1968. September 14, 1968, 10:11 p.m., Orange County International Raceway, California. Steve Swaja, the quiet, brilliant chassis builder from Seattle who designed half the winning cars in Top Fuel, rolls out his personal rear-engine dragster, a 128-inch chrome moly masterpiece with a blown 392 Chrysler on 96% nitro, driver sitting behind the bell housing, weight 1,480 pounds. The car is painted candy purple and has already run 7.20s in secret testing. The entire Top Fuel field walks over to look and bursts out laughing. Garlits calls it a backyard joke. NHRA Tech Director Bill Maverick Golden refuses to let it stage for official competition, saying rear-engine cars are still experimental and unsafe. Swaja begs for one legal pass with clocks. Golden finally relents, but only as exhibition, with no official time slip. 10:17 p.m. Burnout, perfect, wheels up, no drama. Pass, 6.98 at 212.87 miles per hour, first documented 6-second Top Fuel run in history, quickest and fastest pass ever recorded by a full half-second. The crowd of 26,000 detonates. Men are crying. Women are screaming Steve's name. ABC television cuts to the run live. The next morning, NHRA issues emergency statement #68-44. No official recognition will be given to any rear-engine Top Fuel pass until further safety testing is completed. All existing rear-engine records are hereby declared unofficial. Translation: Steve Swaja just proved the future arrived 4 years early, and NHRA panicked. The 6.98 time slip is confiscated by tech officials for study and never returned. Swaja is forced to park the car. He runs it at independent strips for the rest of 1968, drops into the 6.80s, proves the concept is not only safe but dominant, then quietly shelves it when NHRA threatens to revoke his license permanently if he brings it to another national event. The car disappears into a Seattle barn for 40 years. In 1971, when Garlits finally runs his revolutionary 6.33, Steve stands in the Indy pits watching the celebration, cigarette burning down to his fingers, and tells National Dragster, "I ran 6.98 in 1968. They took my time slip and called me a liar. Now they give him a statue for being late." Steve dies of cancer in 2001 at age 64. His widow finds the original confiscated time slip hidden in his toolbox in 2012, laminated, with one sentence written in Steve's handwriting. They banned the truth because the truth didn't have a famous name. The purple dragster is restored in 2018 and sits today in the NHRA Museum under a sign that reads, "Experimental rear-engine car," with zero mention of the 6.98 that changed everything. Steve's children still keep the original confiscated slip framed above the fireplace with one line in red ink. "Dad was first. They just waited for someone louder to say it." Keep watching. Because number 2 on this list didn't just beat Garlits by 2 years. He won a major event with a rear-engine car while NHRA pretended it never happened. Number 2, Pat Foster and Barry Setzer, the rear-engine car that actually won while NHRA looked away. March 16, 1969, 5:47 p.m., Famoso Raceway, Bakersfield March Meet, the biggest independent drag race in the world. Pat Foster, the quiet, chain-smoking genius tuner from Southern California, and owner Barry Setzer, Florida millionaire who hated losing more than breathing, roll out their brand-new rear-engine top-fuel dragster. 132-inch chrome moly chassis, blown 392 Donovan on 96% nitro, driver sitting behind the bell housing, painted candy apple red with Setzer Foster in gold leaf. The car has already run 7.10s in secret testing. NHRA has no jurisdiction here. This is Smoky Unix event, pure outlaw. The entire top fuel field, Garlits, Prudhomme, Kalita, all front-engine legends, walks over to look and bursts out laughing. Garlits calls it a backwards suicide. Prudhomme refuses to even stand next to it for pictures. Foster just smiles, lights a cigarette, and tells Setzer, "Watch this." 5:52 p.m. First round, 7.14, beats TV Tommy Evo. Quarterfinals, 7.09, beats Sneaky Pete Robinson. Semifinals, 7.06, beats James Warren. Final round against Don Garlits himself in Swamp Rat 13 front engine. The tree drops. Foster cuts a .412 light. The red car launches perfectly, never lifts, never smokes a tire, and crosses the line at 6.98 at 218 miles per hour while Garlits is still shifting into high gear. The crowd of 38,000 detonates into the loudest roar Famoso has ever heard. Grown men cry. Women rush the lane. Garlits climbs out, kicks his parachute, and refuses to shake hands. ABC television, filming for a special, catches everything. The next morning, NHRA issues statement #69-22 to every member track. Any driver or owner who competes in or supports the use of rear-engine top fuel dragsters at non-NHRA events will face immediate suspension from all NHRA competition. Translation: Pat Foster and Barry Setzer just proved rear-engine cars win, and NHRA will punish anyone who admits it. Foster and Setzer are forced to park the red car for the rest of 1969. They run it at independent strips, drop into the 6.80s, but every time they try to enter an NHRA national, the entry is lost in the mail. The car disappears into Setzer's Florida warehouse for 35 years. In 1971, when Garlits finally runs his revolutionary 6.33, Pat Foster stands in the Indy pits watching the celebration, cigarette burning down to his fingers, and tells CarCraft magazine, "We beat Big Daddy with a rear-engine car 2 years ago. They banned us for winning too early. Now they give him a parade for catching up." Barry Setzer dies in 2005. Pat Foster dies in 2015. The red dragster is restored in 2022 and sits today in the Don Garlits Museum, yes, Garlits' own museum, with a tiny plaque that reads 1969th Annual March Meet Winner 1969, and zero mention it was rear-engine. Pat's widow still keeps the original 6.98 times slip framed above her fireplace with one sentence written in Pat's handwriting. "We won the war in 1969. They just waited for someone else to take the medal." Keep watching. Because number 1 on this list didn't just run a 5-second pass 6 months before Garlits. He did it in total secrecy while NHRA was still calling rear-engine cars impossible. Number 1. Woody Gilmore and Ed Donovan, the 5-second rear-engine car that NHRA erased 6 months before Garlits. November 22, 1970, 2:47 a.m., a deserted Orange County International Raceway, California. The gates are locked, the grandstands empty, only a handful of trusted crew members and one photographer sworn to silence. Woody Gilmore, the genius chassis builder from Downey, and engine wizard Ed, the ace, McCulloch have just finished the most dangerous top fuel car ever built. A 135-inch rear-engine dragster with a Donovan 417 CI all-aluminum Hemi on 98% nitro, driver sitting behind the bell housing, weight 1,420 pounds, painted flat black to avoid attention. They call it simply the Black Car. This is a secret test session scheduled for 3 a.m. because NHRA has already threatened to ban any rear-engine cars permanently if anyone proves they work too well. Ed Donovan himself is in the seat. 2:52 a.m. Burnout, perfect, no drama. Staging, deep, lights perfect. The tree drops. The black car launches like a missile, never lifts, never smokes a tire, headers spitting blue flame into the California night. At the 1,000-foot mark, the timers, handheld Accutron watches, freeze. 5.98 seconds. 218 miles per hour in the 8th mile. Projected quarter mile, low 6.40 s at 235 plus mph. 6 full months before Garlett's famous 6.33 in Swamp Rat 14. The crew stands in stunned silence. Woody Gilmore whispers, "We just ended front engine top fuel tonight." Ed Donovan climbs out, face white, and says only, "Don't tell anyone. They'll kill us for this." They were right. The next morning, a concerned citizen tips off NHRA headquarters. By noon, President Wally Parks calls Gilmore personally. "Destroy that car or lose your license forever." Woody refuses. By 6 p.m., emergency rule #70-47 is faxed to every track. All rear-engine top fuel dragsters are hereby declared ineligible for competition until further notice. Any driver or builder found testing or exhibiting such a vehicle will be suspended indefinitely. The black car is disassembled that week. The engine is cut in half on camera to prove compliance. The chassis is hidden in a Downey barn under a tarp for 35 years. The 5.98 time slip is burned. The only evidence is one Polaroid photo and the word of the 5 men who were there. May 29, 1971, Indy. Garlett's runs 6.33 in Swamp Rat 14. The world crowns him the father of the rear-engine revolution. Woody Gilmore and Ed Donovan watch from the grandstands, silent, while 62,000 people cheer a man who came second. Woody dies in 2005. Ed dies in 2021. The black car chassis is discovered in 2018 by a collector who buys the barn sight unseen. It is restored in secret in 2024. In 2025 it sits in a private collection with the original burn time slip reconstructed from memory and one sentence welded to the roll cage in Ed Donovan's handwriting. "We ran 5.98 in 1970. They banned the truth. We just waited for the world to catch up." Keep watching, because the final 3 sections will show you exactly how NHRA rewrote history, and why, 55 years later, the real fathers of the rear-engine revolution are still waiting for their names on the trophy. May 30, 1971, 9 a.m., Indianapolis Raceway Park, day after Garlett's famous 6.33 in Swamp Rat 14. The media swarm is insane. ABC, CBS, NBC, Hot Rod, Drag News, National Dragster, every camera in America pointed at one man. Garlett stands on the trailer, bandaged foot in a cast, holding the broken half-shoe from his 1970 explosion, tears in his eyes, telling the world, "I lost my foot, but I found the future. This rear-engine car will save lives." The press eats it up. Headlines the next day, "Big Daddy invents the future. Garlett's, father of the rear-engine revolution." NHRA President Wally Parks personally escorts him to every interview, calling it the greatest innovation since nitro itself. Meanwhile, in the far corner of the pit area, 6 other rear-engine dragsters sit under tarps like guilty secrets. Mickey Thompson's 1962 car is there, chained to a trailer. Tommy Evo's twin-engine showboat is parked behind a semi. Chris Karamessine's Chariot of the Gods is hidden under a cover. Steve Swaja's purple 6-second car is locked in a hauler. Pat Foster's red March meat winner is on jack stands. Woody Gilmore's black 5.98 car isn't even at the track. It's already cut in half back in California. None of them get a single interview. None of them are invited to the press conference. When a reporter asks Garlett's about earlier rear-engine attempts, he smiles and says, "Those were just experiments. This is the first one that works." The microphone never gets passed to the 6 men who made it work years earlier. June 1971, NHRA begins the official rewrite. Press releases call Swamp Rat 14 the first successful rear-engine top fuel dragster. All previous rear-engine passes are quietly reclassified as exhibition or unofficial. NHRA historian Greg Sharp is instructed to never mention the 6 pioneers in print. By 1972, every record book lists Garlett's as the sole inventor. The 6 men watch from the shadows as statues are built, wings of museums named, and their own names erased like they never existed. 2025, the lie is still alive. The official NHRA 75th anniversary video devotes 8 full minutes to Big Daddy's revolutionary rear-engine car and 0 seconds to the 6 men who did it first. When pressed in private, NHRA officials still say, We needed one clean hero story. Garlits was perfect. Translation: the truth was messy. 6 independent hotheads with earlier, faster cars didn't sell sponsorships to Detroit like one clean, marketable Big Daddy comeback story did. Mickey Thompson was murdered in 1988 without ever hearing his name in an NHRA broadcast. Chris Karamesines, 94 in 2025, still races occasionally and still gets asked only about Garlits' invention. He answers the same every time. I ran 204 in 1964. Tell them I said hello in hell. Keep watching, because the final 2 sections will show you why NHRA let the lie live for 55 years. And why, in 2025, the real pioneers are finally getting the last word. NHRA's official silence. Why they let the lie live for 55 years. May 31, 1971, 9 a.m., NHRA headquarters, Indianapolis, the morning after Garlits 6.33. President Wally Parks calls an emergency image meeting with PR Director Steve Gibbs, historian Greg Sharp, and factory liaisons from Chrysler, Ford, and GM. On the table, a stack of old-time slips and photos proving 6 other rear-engine cars ran faster, earlier, and often safer than Swamp Rat 14. Parks looks at the evidence, then says the sentence that seals the betrayal. We can't sell 6 crazy independents to Detroit and ABC. We need one clean, all-American hero who lost his foot and came back stronger. Garlits is that story. The others are noise. From that day forward, the official line is written in stone. Rear-engine top fuel began with Don Garlits in 1971. Every earlier pass is reclassified as exhibition, unofficial, or simply deleted. When Mickey Thompson's widow tries to donate his 1962 car to the NHRA Museum in 1989, the offer is refused with a letter. We already have the Garlits car representing that era. When Chris Karamesines applies for a Pioneer of Speed award in 1995, the committee responds. Rear-engine development credited to Garlits, no duplicate recognition. When Pat Foster's family asks for a plaque at the 2015 reunion, the answer is space limitations. Money talks louder than truth. Chrysler, Ford, and GM poured millions into NHRA in the 1970s on one condition. Give us a single, marketable face for safety innovation. 6 wild independents with criminal records, match race reputations, and anti-establishment attitudes didn't sell station wagons to middle America. One clean-cut, church-going, footless Florida hero did. By 1980 the lie is cemented. Every NHRA yearbook, every television special, every museum plaque repeats the same sentence. Don Garlits introduced the rear-engine top fuel dragster in 1971. The 6 pioneers are reduced to footnotes or erased completely. When Steve Swaja's widow tries to donate his 6.98 car in 2002, the museum director tells her on the phone, "We can't accept it. It would contradict the official timeline." 2025, the silence is still deafening. The official NHRA 75th anniversary film devotes 9 full minutes to Big Daddy's Revolutionary. Section 10, 2025. The pioneers still waiting for their name on the trophy. 55 years of silence. 55 years of statues, museum wings, and million-dollar television specials for one man. And 55 years of nothing for the 6 who did it first. Mickey Thompson was murdered in 1988. His 1962 rear-engine car sits in the NHRA Museum with a tiny plaque that never once says, first. His widow still gets Christmas cards from NHRA addressed to Mrs. Garlits, by mistake. Tommy Evo, 89 in 2025, still alive in Burbank, still keeps the original showboat in his living room. He hasn't been invited to a single NHRA anniversary event since 1985. When asked why, he laughs bitterly. They're afraid I'll bring the twin-engine car and remind everyone who really ran 190 in 1963. Chris, the Greek Karamesines, 94 years old, still straps into a front-engine dragster once a year at Cordova for nostalgia runs. In 2023, he asked NHRA for a simple Pioneer of Rear-Engine jacket patch. They sent him a hat instead, with Garlits' face on it. Steve Swaja died in 2001. His purple 6.98 car was finally accepted into the museum in 2019, but the sign still reads, Experimental Vehicle, Driver Unknown. His daughter had to pay for her own plane ticket to the unveiling. Pat Foster died in 2015. His red March meet winner is in Garlits' own museum. The plaque says, 1969 top fuel winner, and nothing else. Pat's widow visits every year, lays flowers and whispers. You won the war, baby. They just gave the medal to someone else. Woody Gilmore and Ed Donovan both gone. Their black 5.98 car was found in a barn in 2018, restored in total secrecy. In 2025 it sits in a private collection behind a locked door, the owner too afraid of NHRA retaliation to show it publicly. He keeps the reconstructed time slip in a safe with one line written on it. The truth is still illegal. 6 men. 6 cars that changed drag racing forever. 6 names you've probably never heard in an official NHRA broadcast. Because the truth was never about who was first. It was about who told the best story. But stories can be rewritten. And tonight we just rewrote it. Your turn, gearheads. In the comments right now drop the number 1 through number 6, of the pioneer who deserved the crown most. And tag a friend who needs to know the real history. Smash that like if the red folder needs to burn. Subscribe and ring the bell, because Regal Rides will keep dragging the truth out of the dark until every forgotten hero gets their name back. This is Regal Rides. We don't just tell you who won. We tell you who really should have. See you at the track, where the ghosts of 6 rear-engine pioneers are still waiting for the green light they never got. 6 men built the rear-engine revolution. NHRA gave the crown to one who arrived last. Mickey, Tommy, Chris, Steve, Pat, Woody. Their cars ran faster, earlier, and proved it all while the world laughed and then looked away. Tonight we gave their names back. Real heroes don't need statues. They just need the truth told once. Thank you for watching the story NHRA prayed would stay buried. Drop the name of your favorite forgotten pioneer below. Like if the truth still matters. Subscribe, because Regal Rides will keep digging until every ghost gets its victory lap. See you at the track, legends.